Hi, Alan Stark here at Unicity Marketing. Occasionally we hear of things that franchise owners are doing to help build their businesses, and we'd like to pass these on to you. You may have been asked the question, how does Slim work? Or maybe you've wondered that yourself. We'd like to show you a simple visual demonstration that you can use to show your customers and franchise partners. Slim's benefits are understood best if you first show how a body works under ideal circumstances. That would be how a body works with an ideal diet and why that body burns fat instead of stores it. Next, show how a modern diet and lifestyle have transformed the body from a fat burning machine into a fat storing machine. Then, of course, you show how, by adding BioSlice Slim to the diet, you can convert the body back to the ideal fat burning stage. And then you can show that there are some simple things that you can do to help speed up the fat loss process. Now, even though what I'm going to show you may seem a lot like biology class all over again, I promise I'll keep it simple. Okay, first up, here's how a body works in a perfect world. Now, a body feeds itself on the cellular level with just two things, glucose and free fatty acids. Glucose is a simple sugar. When you eat, the body converts that food into glucose. Then, glucose travels through the bloodstream. Even though glucose is in the bloodstream, it can't be absorbed by your body's cells as nourishment just yet. Your cells have to wait to be fed until your body produces a hormone called insulin. Every cell in your body, and there are trillions, has a receptor site for insulin. This receptor site acts like a door that stays shut without insulin. Once the pancreas produces insulin, the insulin attaches to this receptor site and opens the door so that glucose can enter and feed the cell. Your whole body is made up of cells. You have brain cells, muscle cells, organ cells, and you even have fat cells. Glucose feeds your organ cells, your muscle cells, and any excess glucose that's in the bloodstream, and if we've eaten too much or the wrong things, we're going to have more glucose than our cells need. That excess glucose gets packed into your fat cells and is kept there until we need it. So the glucose is used up or stored away for later use. After the glucose is gone, then the insulin has done its job and it detaches from the receptor site and leaves your body. Now when your cells want more nourishment and energy, the glucose stored in your fat cells is converted into a molecule called free fatty acids. These free fatty acids are free to go back into the bloodstream to be circulated throughout your body. Free fatty acids don't need insulin to be absorbed by the cells. They enter the cells and feed them when there's no glucose available to feed them. When the body works this way, it fuels itself on the fat that it's stored in your fat cells. Okay, here's the problem though. If insulin is still attached to the cells, the free fatty acids can't get out in order to feed your cells. So we keep storing fat, but not burning it. Without some form of nutrition for our cells, we start to get tired and we start wanting to eat anything that'll give our body glucose to feed our cells. That's the time when you have cravings, and that's usually the time when you end up eating something that's not very nutritious or good for you. Now, this is where you show how a modern diet and lifestyle have transformed the body from a fat burning machine into a fat storing machine. Now, you can show this with a simple graph. This time, instead of drawing the bloodstream, you'll draw a graph that helps to show the amount of glucose and insulin in the blood. To make your presentation a little more real or authentic, you might want to relate portions of it to you in your life. For example, here's how I might present it. Now, I'm going to use two color markers here, but you're certainly not obligated to do that. Let me show you what used to happen to me before I had BioSlice Slim. Now, see if this sounds familiar. I'd get up in the morning and want breakfast, maybe some pancakes with syrup or some cold cereal with milk, add some toast with butter and jam. Well, sometimes I'd grab a donut or a Pop-Tart. Have you eaten stuff like that for breakfast? When that donut enters my body, it's converted to glucose and rushes into my bloodstream. The more sugary the food, the faster and higher the blood sugar or glucose level rises. The pancreas senses the spike of glucose in the blood. It responds by pumping out insulin and creating an insulin spike in response to the spike in my glucose level. That surge of insulin works the way it's supposed to, It opens up the doors to my cells, allowing the glucose to enter and feed them. Then the excess glucose is stored in my fat cells. Since my cells are feasting on glucose and the extra is being stored away, the glucose level in my blood falls. But insulin takes a longer time before it detaches from the receptor site and leaves the body. Insulin is called a long-chain polypeptide and is a more complex molecule than glucose, so it takes more time before it can leave your system. Even though the glucose level in my bloodstream comes down fairly quickly, my insulin level takes a lot longer to go down. The glucose level takes maybe an hour and a half to spike up and come back down, but insulin takes 3 to 5 hours to do that. Now, my cells need nourishment 24 hours a day, but with lots of insulin in my body, my fat cells can't release those free fatty acids to feed my cells, even if those cells are starting to want more food. And what happens after a little while? I start feeling a little irritable, I can't concentrate, getting tired, and then the cravings begin. For me now, that was about 10 o'clock in the morning. You get that way about mid-morning? There I was, low blood sugar level. I can't use my stored fat, and there's a lot of it, because insulin's still there blocking the way out. And I probably won't wait 3 to 5 hours in order for my insulin to go away so I can feed my body with my stored fat. So to me, the obvious answer was to eat something. So I grabbed whatever's around, and it's a Snickers bar from the candy machine. Have you ever done that? My glucose levels spike back up, which causes my body to release more insulin, which pulls that glucose level back down into the cells, and the extra gets stored away in my fat cells again. But because the insulin level is still high, I'm not able to burn any free fatty acids. In other words, I'm adding to the fat storage, but never taking any out. Okay, so now it's noon, and I'm really hungry, but I'm swamped at work, so I need to grab something really quick for lunch. The fast food I eat forces my insulin level back up, and the cycle continues into the afternoon. I end up bathing my body in insulin the entire day. Okay, now I get that insulin's important. I have to have it in order to get the glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells to feed them. But when I have too much insulin in my body for too long, I can create problems for myself.